Messy by Tim Harford. This is a really interesting book. It wasn't something I thought I was even gonna get. It was a gift, and it really turned out to be something really special. It talks about the workplace and desks and procedures in business, and how having a messy, you know, procedures, messy workplace, a messy desk actually kind of increases productivity, and how not really following the norm but going through with messy processes can actually really improve your output, your workflow, and even sometimes just the efficiency of a job, even though it might not make sense. It was a really, really interesting book about just being messy. I think some of the main takeaways from it were that you don't really have to worry too much about it talked about Thomas Edison and how he did all these inventions, and how he was just a great, very smart guy, and a lot of really smart guys, and how he was just crazy messy, and all these really smart guys were just crazy messy, um, and they hated it. At least Thomas Edison, he was like, I just wish I could be cleaner. But Hartford argues that being messy was actually really good because it increased creativity, productivity, and they just got so much stuff done because they weren't worrying about clean file cabinets, right? And then he talks about why people with file cabinets are inherently less productive actually than those who just plop it on the desk. It was really a lot of interesting perspectives about using mess to your advantage and using your environment to inspire creativity and productivity. I really like the book because I think it's really, really applicable. I have kind of always had a messy desk, and because I'm always trying to get stuff done, and it's like you see a lot of people spend so much time cleaning up that it's like you're just wasting time to get stuff done. And it was really interesting to see a new perspective on that, a new take on that, and how a messy work environment can not only get you more productive but also more creative, more inspired, and how management forcing people to clean up. He talks about how some offices force people to be clean, and how they were like actual studies about how messier offices or more personalized offices can create better work environments for the employees comfort wise. It was really, really interesting. Um, let's see, what was one of my favorite scenes from the book? There's one scene, and I find it really memorable. They were talking about using automated processes to streamline work, right? So he was looking at airplanes and airplane autopilot, and how autopilot was not messy. It took all the mess away from the job, and it just automated everything, right? And he was looking at this one flight, and the flight goes into a storm. The guys are on autopilot, and they have no clue what to do when sensors freeze over, stuff goes wrong, and worlds change. And it was really interesting because all of a sudden, you've got these guys, and they've been on the plane for hundreds and hundreds of hours, but they haven't actually been flying the plane. It's always been on autopilot. And because it wasn't messy, this was the first time it's been messy in like for almost their whole career, and they had no clue what was going on. And so the plane stalls in the middle of a storm because they pull up to try to get out of it, and they just have no clue what's going on. And the planes, yell and stall at them, and just because they have always been on autopilot, they're like, "What's going on?" And they fall, like, I think it was somewhere around the routes of 40,000 feet into the Atlantic Ocean, and it was just terrible. Um, and it showed how really unmessy systems and practices in almost any business, and then being uncreative in general, um, just killed their productivity, and all of a sudden they had no clue what they were doing, right? So overall, there's that aspect of it, and then there's the messy part. They talk about MIT. They had this lab that they built in like, I think they surveyed it in one day. They designed it in like one day, and then they built it in, I think, a couple months. And that lab was just the messiest thing in the whole wide world. And it turned out to be one of the most productive labs on campus. Like, I think some odd 20 Nobel Prizes came out of it. And they just built radio, they built the atomic clock in it. And because it was messy, the workplace they were using inspired productivity and creativity, because all of a sudden it was just so much easier to get stuff done. And I think that's really important if you're into like I think this book could be really useful for anyone who's into management, and you're looking at how you want your office space done, or you're looking at how you want to manage, you know, how your employees work, but also for individuals looking at managing your personal space and managing your office and how you do things. And that was something that was really big from this, because all of a sudden, um, it's like, here's a way to suddenly increase your workflow and your productivity, and it's really, really cool. So I would really good book. I'll put a link in the description if you want to see it. Sweet. Have a good one, guys.